Hi. So I welcome each one of you here. As we know, the topic is very interesting and it has been the talk of the town today, building a culture of innovation. So to start with, I would like you to introduce yourself in one line and tell us what, in your view, is the culture of innovation. How do you define it and why is it important?
Hello. Yeah. I think we have been introduced to death type, so I would spare the people on that part. I think in today's very rapid changing world, innovation means to me it is about being able to survive the day and prepare for tomorrow, which means an organization or an individual who is able to rapidly, or as in tech term they say, who is agile enough to learn, open enough to criticize himself for their own actions, and have a decent cushion created, whereas they are able to do controlled experimentation. I think that's what innovation at a very ground level is. Because at the end of the day, you can't be doing path breaking work every day, at least not in marketing. I mean, if we were Einsteins, we won't be here in this room. So let's do what a little better than what we did yesterday. How can you save, or you can do what will take you to incremental benefit? If you keep doing that incrementality, at some point in time you will get onto exponentiality. But in a normal course of a day, it's about being able to do incremental, having the cushion or the wiggle room to try new stuff which you haven't tried, and allowing the having the room whereas you are able to criticize what you were praising yesterday. I think that's what at an organization as well as at an individual level innovation seems to me.
Check, check. Is it audible? I think. Yeah. So in short, if I can maybe use some metaphor to illustrate what culture and innovation means to me is that maybe culture is that soil where the plants of innovation can grow, and you need to have that soil in place for those plants to grow as well as flourish. Uh, Before maybe getting into the what innovation actually means, is that sometimes it's also important to take a step back and understand what innovation doesn't mean. Innovation doesn't mean, and that's where a lot of us think innovation is a very big word or a buzzword, and it may be just we get afraid of the word that maybe innovation is not something for me. I'm a regular guy doing my job into the office. Innovation is not about invention. Invention is all about getting something into being, while innovation is more about getting something into use. He or she may not have created or invented that process, technology, product, or whatever. He's just that because of his creativity, because he was willing to experiment, because he was risk averse, he brought or learned, used that learning and started using in his or her workspace or in his colleagues or in his team's workplace. So using those, and there'll be enough technologies or products in the past, like microwave as a technology, was never invented for heating the food at the house. It was maybe used for the military application. But someone thought about that and started making consumer durable products for the kitchen usage. So having, I think the idea is to maybe brought down the word innovation to a slightly more normalized. And as Ashish mentioned, that innovation is not, has to be, should not just be about creating a big bang disruption. It can also be about small 1%, 2% change, which maybe over a period of time can compound in itself. And maybe over a period of time can bring substantial change into the entire workspace or the ecosystem. So yeah, that's how I would define the initial.
Thank you. So I think some of the very interesting facts already been put by my peers. The way I have always seen innovation in my own career as well as I think it's a behavioral shift, right? We just kind of take innovation as a word very seriously and always try to relate it with a product level innovation or something very drastic in life. But if I look at my own career trajectory or the teams that I work with, every day we are moving towards increasing our efficiency and effectiveness, right? That's the ask of every business. And what am I going to do the next year? So I think at that level, if everybody, the people who have a risk-taking ability, who are actually ready to go beyond what they do in a regular space, I think that's where innovation works. Because every other day you will not find opportunities to kind of really innovate, like he said, exponentially, right? But if you're able to, I mean, that's a question which every review that we sit down with, right? I remember in my first previous job when I was with IT companies specifically, initiative used to be a hard-coded KRA in our room, right? That, okay, you do your regular stuff, but tell me what is an initiative that you took. Now, what does that initiative translate into? It translates into, me figuring out something that will help me either be more effective or be more efficient, reducing time, coming up with a new way to maybe present a report or something like that. So I think that shift is something which is very necessary. And that is what I personally try to do in my role or with my teams. That, be a little more calculated risk ability and start from there. So I think that's how I say it.
So I'll just try to summarize what I feel innovation is in a single line. In my opinion, innovation is perceiving alternate realities and have the courage to pursue them. That's what innovation is for me. So if I, use this line in an organizational context, when you start imagining, and innovation is almost always fueled by imagination. You'll have to have an imaginative mind, and you have to see, can I do these things which I am doing on a regular basis differently? Right? Be it in any department. For example, finance, they can think, how can I control cost in, in a more innovative way? Marketing, how can I write this particular copy in a more innovative way? So it is ingrained in a day-to-day lives, and how you can inculcate this culture in an organization is when people are not afraid of thinking the alternate realities, and people are not afraid of pursuing those alternate realities. I'll give you an example, and one more thing which I would want to highlight is many a times innovation is usually forced by some crisis, or either it can be forced by a crisis, or you can have it in your culture and try to kill, sabotage the way which you are doing for a better alternative, right? I'll give you an example of COVID. When COVID happens, lending almost stopped. It halted for a few days because the way we were doing lending was offline. And every bank, every NBFCs, every fintech, they had to go back to the drawing board and think, how can we now serve our customers with all the restrictions put on by government?
Okay. What are the challenges that we generally face when it comes to fostering this culture inside? Because, today we have so many different minds and so many different kinds of people working, coming from different walks of life, coming together, thinking towards such, and each market is very, very competitive today. Like it's not something that one industry has, say, 10 companies. No, every industry has plethora of companies, right? So how do you tackle, what are the challenges that you all face when it comes to having that culture of motivating your employees to think innovatively, or I would say not think innovatively every time, but in general, how do you motivate them?
One of the biggest impediment for a culture of innovation is the fear. It could be fear of failure, it could be fear of disruption. And typically, culture, as they say, starts from top. It's not a bottoms-up activity. I mean, ask yourself how many times as senior leaders you have gone ahead and spoken openly about your own foolish decisions, things where you failed. All of us as leaders take pride and we triumph and do the chest beating and thumping, saying, I did this and it made so much of differentiation or difference. When was the last time we said, oh, but I also tried 30 other things and I made a fool of myself? If you do that, your people will get it. Humans, I mean, as they say about kids, the same is about employees or people in the organization basis the hierarchy. Monkey sees, monkey does. Monkey does not listens, does not reads and does. Okay? It's about, I mean, there's a very old proverb, and it's a kind of a satirical joke around which works between marketing and agencies typically, and which fits very beautifully here, whereas every marketer, every CMO will go to agency and say, tell me something which has never been done. Give me something really innovative, path-breaking. And the team will come up with some idea, and then Pat comes the question, oh, has anybody done it? I mean, what was the result last time it was being done? And damn it, if you want to try something new, which essentially means it's not been done, do you have courage? And by courage, I essentially do not mean disrupt everything. It's about create a sandbox. You should ask yourself as leaders, what's that cushion which you are providing to your people? Are you showcasing enough vulnerability in yourself which people can follow? Because if you will showcase yourself as the rock, your people will get the message that it's not right to talk about your vulnerabilities, your failures, and at the end of the day, always, which I probably sound like a broken record always, monkey sees, monkey does. And I'm sorry, I'm not calling people monkeys, I'm just using it as a metaphor. So please don't take it as a disrespect.
I was just going to come to this. You think empathy and being transparent personally also from the leader's POV would help other employees to be a little open about how they're thinking and what they're doing, and even if they don't want to do it. Sometimes there are a lot of tasks that are given that you're so saturated, you feel ki nahi hoga yaar. So do you think being that transparent from the leader's POV and having that empathy or vulnerability, as you said, would help?
I think these are the basic traits for being a leader than a supervisor. If you are not empathetic towards your people, you are not a leader. Stop. I mean, leadership is not about saying, you do this, you do this, you do this, just because of I happen to be a CMO. It's about sitting out there, whereas your people can come up to you and say that I want to do this because of it is good for what I am trying to do. When was the last time you asked a question to any of your recruits that what do they want to do in 5 years in their life, except during recruitment process to reject somebody? And I'm using a word rejection, not selection. When was the last time you spent some time with your own team and spoke about and told them about things which you wanted to do and you couldn't? Did you ask your team that why are they joining you? How does this opportunity helps them reach to their goal? Do you approach a problem is how is it going to help your people? And these are all, I mean, innovation is not something which comes from, it's not a panacea or it's not a penicillin which you can just go and prick somebody and he or she will become innovative. When was the last time when you challenged your own thing, which you created and then criticized saying, oh, I don't know what I was smoking at that point in time, that I did what I did. Or it was good for that point in time, let's try and recreate that. And I mean, the moment you start doing that, you won't come to a point that either you have to tell somebody do this. You can't tell somebody from today onwards you are baptized to be innovative. You can't do that. I mean, I'm sorry if anybody knows, please help me. You cannot do that. The only way you can do that, culture has to be demonstrated. It needs to be felt by people. I mean, why would a Tony Hsieh, his company be such an innovative company? It doesn't take, I mean, I'm talking about Zappos. It's not that only Google can be innovative. Amazon bought Zappos because of their customer centricity and innovative culture. It's not that we have to go outside. We need to look at inside our own country. I mean, look at it's large, small, the size of the organization doesn't matter. The challenges to each organization is same. How can you serve your customers better? And I think you got to change the ways you are working. And the only way there is you got to be more innovative.
Anybody else would like to add on this?
Yeah, so maybe leadership clearly, I mean, as Ashish mentioned, leadership not just have to talk the talk, but also has to walk the walk. And that's where the leadership will set the example for the most junior people in the team to follow. One more very important thing is to have a set of purpose or a goal setting in place. If you don't have a common thread or a common goal where everyone or you want your entire organization to think in that direction or reach there, your culture will keep throwing in that direction. If you know that you have to go to Jaipur and suddenly if some team members comes back to you and say ki, I found a very short and fast and very beautiful route to Agra, it will not lead you where you want to go, right? So it has to be aligned. Your most junior, most person in your organization has to see that purpose, has to see that goal setting so that he can innovate in that direction. An innovation or maybe a disruption in any direction will not be a team job. The other thing I think mostly what happens is that sometimes it's also been misrepresented. I mean, setting a foosball table or having a free cold drinks in the cafe
I
is
was
not a
just going
culture. It's not a culture. Culture also needs to evolve. Maybe a startup needs a different set of culture because there you need openness in terms of the ideas. People can walk up to any department, share any ideas. But as that startup goes from 0 to 1 or maybe 10 to 100, the culture also needs to evolve. There maybe now you're trying to optimize for the efficiency. You're trying to bring in the efficiency in the operations, whatever you do. Your culture then needs to change accordingly. Sometimes a lot of organizations fall into that trap of just being creatively led and not efficiency led, and that's where maybe these scalability challenges comes into the picture. So I think those are a couple of challenges which in a longer run, culture should not be set in a stone that this is my culture. As time evolves, everything evolves. Culture also needs to evolve accordingly.
I just want to add a bit here. As individuals, we all are creative. We all have ideas. I think we think of numerous ideas on a daily basis. But the problem is that we rationalize most of the ideas in our own heads. Those ideas, they don't come out. So the main role of a leader is to give an environment where people can openly discuss ideas rather than killing them in their brains, right? When you discuss ideas and then you pick up, if you discuss 10 ideas, you pick one and try to, implement that. That is good enough to, bring in a culture of innovation. Second thing is, as organizations, we should stop, rewarding results rather than we should stop rewarding initiatives. I'm not sure whether you have seen it in most of the appraisal forms. There's a line what initiatives you took and what was the impact of that initiative. When we write what was the impact of that initiative, that kills the culture of innovation. When you start, because when you put that, you start looking at the results. And when you are evaluated on the basis of results, you'll stop thinking about new ideas. Because what if you fail? When you say, okay, no matter whether you fail or you succeed, just write your initiative, what you took. People will start, taking more initiatives because they will be judged on the initiatives they take, not the result that initiative yield.
I think that would also give the person more confidence about even if the idea didn't work, but the idea was good.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
all ideas work. Not
Exactly,
not
yeah.
all points
The-
can work, right?
Yeah, the point is you try more. When you try more, the chances of you getting succeeded is higher.
Let's accept the fact that we are all running our deadlines or revenues, right? So in reality, whatever we are talking here is fine. It's obviously very good to know and we understand all of this. But in reality, what happens is, when you go back to your workspace, you are again running behind, towards those deadlines or let's say the revenue numbers. We expect people to do innovative stuff or something out of the line during that space, right? How many times, like for example, for marketing, just to even create a social media post, how many times we would allow them to make 4 or 5 or 10 versions out of it? We want the first one to be the perfect one. Innovation doesn't come in first go as a perfect one, right? And that's why we usually expect innovation to come from areas where there is a dedicated R&D department, because that's been a dedicated space given to try, test, fail, and ideas, all what we are talking about. But I think in our day-to-day structure, we are not doing that. But interestingly, like we work with the very younger folks at the moment, like a lot of Gen Zs are joining us, a lot of millennials are coming across. They have a larger capacity towards that. They are very pushy, like that happens at least in my team. They're very pushy around that, we should try these out. So as a leader, if we are not creating that ecosystem, we are not giving them that bandwidth, they will obviously, we are just killing them, like he said, killing their ideas in their head. So I think we have to somewhere create that ecosystem, not run. We have to definitely do that as part of our business goals. But in day-to-day life, we have to create that space. Have your own small little R&D departments. Let people experiment. Let people do it inside that room. Right? Don't take it out to the client if you don't like it, but allow them to do that. Because if we don't do that, then as a practice, I've seen that it stops. They just become very monotonous and they know that they have to do a task. So you have to shift them from the task level to the business level. that's how you can cultivate innovation.
But as you rightly said that, we all have deadlines, right? When the brand, as an agency also, when the brand comes to us and says that, we need to come up with something very innovative and something that nobody has done in just a day, okay? So in such firefighting scenarios, what are those 2 to 3 things that you as individuals or as leaders would have done to your team? Because the time is very short and the time is really, really important today. So when it comes to such situations, what are those 2 things that you give to your group of people that time working on it?
I would like to take a step back out here, okay? So just to add to what Sachin was saying, typically, if you keep looking at what, I think you need to create a balance between what and how, okay? It's not only what. Don't reward only what. Start creating some weight for how, number one. Number two, to answer your question about, you don't start digging a well when the fire is there in the house. You dig the well, put the bucket already. Yeah. If you are integrated into a business, whether you are in-house, you are out-house, you are outsourced, whatever. I mean, what stops us to create something called as an ideas battery? I do it very often. It's like almost so. The way I follow a practice, we have a Friday meeting. It's nothing fancy. It's just sitting around the table and saying and having a very small box saying anything which comes in your head, whatever it is. There is nothing called as junk. You don't want to even claim the fame for it. Just type it out, put it in that box. And we keep looking, and on every Friday we'll pull it out. Okay, and half of the time people write crazy stuff. Yeah, whatever comes in their head and they will not like to be identified. We'll pull that out and we'll discuss it. What helps there is that the same thing which you said. You won't have a day-to-day firefighting if you are already, and that's where the differentiation between culture and reaction comes out. A culture is not a reaction, it's a response. It's like developing your muscle for a marathon. You cannot, it's not that you will enroll today and tomorrow you will be a sprinter. You have to work that out over and over and give that time to your muscles. Okay. Will it guarantee 100%? I mean, I don't think so. It always guarantees, but it will cover your 80% of the challenges. Yeah. If you know the business enough, if you know what you want to achieve, you would be able to. I mean, it's not that when somebody comes with a stick in their hand, you will start thinking. Yeah, because of in very far and few. Yeah, there are people who respond good to stress, but very far and few that happens so easily.
Just to lighten the mood before you guys give your view, what is that one craziest idea that you read?
I don't think so. I can publicly speak about it. So crazy. Oh, don't even ask me. I have like people ranging from 22 to 52. So
On that, just to add, I think 2 things, you were asking 2 things largely to work, and I was just thinking around that only. I think we create urgencies. As an agency, you would know that urgencies are not always there. The way we operate and function, working last minute and stuff like that, holding information to us, not letting people know everything, the urgent situations are created by us only. Right? They don't fall from anywhere else, right? So one is the proactive approach. Like that's something that we always try to do. You can at least try to be as proactive as you are. So if there are things that we foresee and we know that we have to work around, let's in the next quarter or let's even in the next week, we have to be a little proactive in that. The second is the communication. Like if you're working on a program, the person who needs to actually sit down on the ground and execute, to some level you can always include that person in the conversation. So some kind of hierarchical breakdown and you let the person be involved so that the person already has started ideating that. Right? If you give them the task last minute and then they expect you to deliver something out of the box, that won't happen. So I think these are the 2 things which we practically do in our office space, and it does help us save a lot of time in terms of having more better ideas to kill, and then that time frame that we have where we can say that okay, this is not working, let's finally go with this, because we operate with the agency as well. So it's up to us whether we create an urgency for them or create an environment to flourish and come back with ideas. So I think that's very important.
whatever she said is right. I just want to add one more thing. You know, in organizations, sometimes we create multiple deadlines. The CEO gives a deadline to the CMO. CMO takes 2 days out and give a shorter deadline to his team. The team takes another 2 day out and give a shorter deadline to the agency, and then everyone is panicking. We have to do this. We have to do this. So what she was saying is right. Rather than holding information, everything should be transparent. We know, and it happens when all of you have a shared goal. I'll just give you an example of a social media. Let's say Mother's Day is coming and we have to do a big campaign. Everyone should be clear that we have to do a campaign rather than, CEO saying, let's do something. Then CMO thinking for 2 days, what should we do? What should we do? Rather than, asking the team, ideating, discussing, and then give the brief to the team. So sometimes panic happens because of this.
I agree.
There's a couple of things that I personally try to do with my team is that one is that, so while we have different brand managers managing their respective brand for them, but when it's come to maybe important decision making, they are open to comment or give feedback or maybe participate in the decision making for the other brands as well. So they are not just limited to take care of their own brand because ideas can come from anywhere. And I don't want to restrict that you just mind your business with that idea and don't interfere with that. So maybe our team works very closely and they're open to ideation. I try to bring that into the open forum that if we have maybe this brand manager has some idea for the other brand, he's free to set those idea. Accepting that idea is obviously a call of the respective brand manager or the marketing head. The other very important thing that could be done is that largely what happens is that when it's largely about the individual. Typically, one thing that I do with my team is that what I'd say is that bringing the middle class values. So because we are an FMCG company and clearly in a lot of categories we compete with bigger players, HULs, PNGs of the world. So my first and foremost brief to my team members is that see clearly we are a middle class guy. We cannot compete with HULs of the PNG world in terms of the marketing dollar. So whatever marketing stuff you do, you need to have that extra bent of innovation or creativity into it. That is the only arsenal that you have in it yourself because clearly head on head, we'll never win this battle. So I think that's my way of orienting my team that whatever time you spend in this team or in this organization, you always need to think 1 or 2 steps more in terms of the creativity so that you get best out of those marketing dollars. So bringing that culture of middle class values, which was very different when I was in Philips. There you say that it's not about the money, you do what is the best innovation possible. So I also have to adapt as per the organization, as the culture, and then I set the tone for my team. And I've seen multiple subculture sometimes exist in the organization, which I don't know, sometimes is good and sometimes also bad. Typically what happens that maybe when there's not too much of transparency or maybe the top management is not taking that much interest as it should be, various departments of the function have formed their own culture. And I have seen this on both the sides. Sometimes you feel that, oh, maybe their team is really good. They have that kind of transparency where they can share their ideas and thoughts, while our team is very strict and we don't allow, we have zero tolerance to failure. Because maybe we are just bound to deliver something on certain time or meant to deliver certain numbers. So sometimes maybe creating a subculture is also okay, I think, and I need not to just expect the entire organization to fall in place. I can also have my functional culture in my small little team that I have.
Any particular, so as you were saying that the culture should also evolve and it should keep evolving, and while having the discussion we also learned that failure is something which is good and we should learn from that. Any particular incident that you guys want to share wherein a situation like that happened? Because I'm sure a lot of people they look at the brands that we work for as the brands, right? So any incident that you would like to share wherein something like this happened and you dealt with it as a leader in a X way?
Oh, I have a list of failures. Probably, I mean, very little success, but a lot of it. I mean, but before I go there, I have a little different point of view. So one of the things which, like Mukesh said, that it's about a middle class thing. For me, my brief remains very simple. And this is something which I figured out that a lot of times resources, and particularly money, especially in marketing, is the smoke screen. You take that out and suddenly everything falls flat. You ask any marketing team, whichever size, what's your biggest problem? Oh, we don't have enough marketing dollars. You tell them only one thing, if money was not a problem, let's take money out. You want 1 or 1 billion, that's my problem. And the only problem which I handle are 2. Probably 1. One is resources, second is time. I don't do anything else. And that's how I decide on innovation front. The only thing which I control is how much money would you need and when would you deliver it. Rest everything is your problem. You figure it out. If you fail, come back to me. If you succeed, go and don't come back to me. Let me sleep easy. Okay, I've done enough work in my 20 years to claim the rest. So try this. And suddenly you will see people falling short of words to give you. Okay. One of the things, one of the largest failures which I have had in my career, and I'll speak about it. This was when I was in my previous assignment as a chief marketing and digital for one of the largest insurance companies. We were implementing the entire customer communication module. And this was second wave of COVID. And I still remember the date. It was exactly, I think, April 26th, which was a Thursday. And we realized that suddenly email, and we were trying something, one of the kids was trying, he wanted to do something different and was writing a macro or something. An email has gone out to people saying that your death claim intimation has been accepted. It's an email going at the COVID time. Had it been any other time, probably people would have not seen it, but it's a warmed up domain. We have worked very hard to warm it up and everything. And suddenly, and you won't believe we had sent out that email to a base of almost some 34 lakh plus people, which were our customers, our ex-customers, our prospects, and everything. A typical way is what? Why the hell would you try something on a live rather than UAT? That's what a logical question. Second, when you have something like that, emails have gone to your shareholders, to regulators, the next comes the demand, we need something packaged. And we all know what is that. It has to be a head. Finally, we worked it out, we owned it up, I owned it up. It was my mistake because if I have given out my digital keys to the person, saying that, oh, you want to do this, go ahead, do it. And I was fortunate to have a CEO who would back me like a rock. What it did, there were people who kind of worked overnight for 5 days, and there was from marketing to sales to everybody was standing solid to each other and responding to customer calls, which were not too friendly at times, speaking to partners who were not too happy at that point in time, and representing to regulator who was not amused at what we did. But we came out of it, except for a couple of us, because of we had, and you asked me, was I not scared? Well, I was scared to hell. Not for anything else, but it wasn't about a job. It was about a team of some 20 odd people working on that thing for 8 odd months, project getting its tail and tanked. And forget about project, it's a career of people. We worked that out. What it resulted, I think we had globally 3 months down the line, we won the best marketing team award because of what was to happen in 10 months. There were people who were willing to leave everything and saying that, now damn it, we did this. Now we will show the real metal what we got. So I think that works. Was I lucky? I think I was at that point in time. Yeah, so I think that's how it is. You asked for one?
It worked. It worked.
Whatever works.
Whatever works. In our case, yes, whatever works.
Just to give you an example from our industry at the moment, sometimes the outcomes will not always be in your control, right? You can be as innovative. That's a reaction that you will get. It could be in a product domain as well. Nobody knew iPhone will be successful because nobody conceptualized a touch screen, right? We never thought of it. Like in our industry at the moment, there is that much that as a platform we can do, right? It's an audio platform. But in terms of the campaigns that we do, we could be as innovative there as possible. But will all of them be successful enough? I'm not talking about failure. I'm just saying even the benchmark of success. Some of us will lead to an mCube award today, but maybe not all. So, but as an organization, as a leadership, you have to still back the teams to continue to do that, because the response or the outcome of what you're doing innovatively in your campaign also is not completely in your control. So I think that, and that should not become a reason for not to do it ahead, right, in other areas. So I think that's something which works for, environments like us on a very every day-to-day basis. Because we are an advertising platform, every day we are running ads, different campaigns, different products. There's already a perceived value of that in the market. So we can try our best, but the success is not always in our control. So that's another thing which happens, that you don't really have a full control on what you do will have that kind of an impact as you're expected out of it.
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, speaking about the failure, yes, we are, so for example, in our current organization, I also lead the new product development. So when I work with my NPD teams or the brand managers, the idea is to maybe get into newer categories, product categories. And from day zero, I'm not expecting all those 10 products to become 100 crore product categories in itself. It's a simple Pareto principle. We are saying that maybe 8 of them will just remain a 5 or a 10 or a 50 crore brand, but maybe 2 of them will maybe reach ahead. So we have that kind of cushion. I have that kind of cushion from my boss. I give pass on that same cushion to my team. The idea is that as long as you follow the right process, if your process is intact, if your working has been thorough, your research has been done, please go ahead and launch those 10 products, and we will support you in every step of the way, and we'll see what those 2 products we can eventually scale. Even in our marketing budget spend, like the way we structure is that we follow simple 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of the marketing budget will go only to the things which move the needle in a short term, because I have to deliver my monthly or quarterly sales. 30% of the marketing budget will go in largely brand building, which is not immediate, but slightly shorter long term. But 20% I give my team a freedom to experiment some. Let's try to create a viral video. I don't know. I mean, it cannot be created over a period of time. But I give that kind of flexibility to them. Make a shot. Work with your agency. See if you can create something new. Try something new. Do a memes marketing. Do a AI-based marketing. Or whatever is trending right now. So we keep that buffer always there, so that their 80% is taken care of, and they have some wiggle room to play in that 20% budget. So that's, personally, I follow that trend in our budget.
So is it fair to say that it's indeed a top-down approach, as they say?
Perfectly, has to be, yeah.
Otherwise, it is going to be a huge mess, I guess.
Absolutely, it has to be.
Sure. Sorry, sir.
So, trying and failing has been in our culture since inception. So, a lot of people do not know that Paisabazaar was the first organization and we launched direct mutual funds in India. I'm sure you know the difference between direct and traditional. In traditional, you pay 1% higher. Our mutual fund platform was entirely free. We were not charging any commission. We were the first one. In fact, we launched it at least 7 or 8 months prior to the next player. We ran it for good 2-3 years and then realized, because we wanted the investment part to support the lending piece, it was not happening very efficiently. We closed it. We realized that it was, and it was a huge investment, getting all the approvals, SEBI approval at the first place, creating an entire platform, market it, do everything. In fact, we had lakhs of investors who were on our platform. And then we had to stop it. We are just maintaining it, running a low profile. Similarly, we convinced our management that let's go and hire, sign up Akshay Kumar as a brand ambassador. We did that. Crores worth of money spent in the signing fees and, in the shooting and everything. We ran our first campaign, it fell flat. We realized that maybe the thing is not happening, and we stopped the rest of the campaigns, even though we had, we had the agreement for 2 years. Similarly, there are numerous, such incidents I can tell you. In marketing also, there are numerous occasions when we have signed up a, large tool, gave them hefty amount of money, but it didn't work. So we had to, live with it. So it's a part of your life. You go for it, you fail. But if you do 10 experiments and if you succeed only in one, it's good enough to continue.
How easy, difficult, or whatever the term that you can give is to work with the Gen Z today? Because I mean, the smile says it all, I guess. I think, yeah, the smile and the smirk says it all, but they are the most, I think, they have zero attention span, is what I can see and feel. They are too opportunist in life, too sometimes fidgetative also, and it's just difficult. Or how do you guys, what are the challenges that you face? Because today I see a lot of organizations have at least 40 to 50% of Gen Z working in, right? So how is it to work with them and foster the culture of innovation over there?
I think every three generations talk the same thing. My dad and my granddad used to say same thing about me. So, I mean, they had the similar kind of a, probably not as much, but similar kind of observations. Because of, for them, getting into one job and remaining there forever for retirement was the key. When you shift the first job, and that also a large brand, they're like, this guy is crazy, will do nothing. You, I mean, see, whichever generation you are dealing with, at the end of the day, you are dealing with humans. They have aspirations, they have their values, they have their entire ecosystem, and not everything you need to understand.
But you can't deny the generation today has the most difficult.
Yeah, they are more, they are, hello, this is
Hello?
innovative when you shut up, sir. Yeah, innovation to say that time's up. See, somebody shouted from there also. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what you are dealing, what the reason why we fall, probably we feel the way we feel is because of you try to compare them versus you of that time. A lot of times we try to create a scale for ourselves. Oh, when I was starting my career, I used to set for 18 hours, used to run to get a coffee to my boss despite being whatever. And this kid comes in half-torn jeans and earns like 10 times more. I started my earning and have a voice. Yeah, he has a voice because of he was born with the tools and technology which you were aspiring when you were like double his age. His exposure levels are different, his information capabilities are different, his processing capabilities are different. I mean, today, a 10 years old can use a Snapchat better than I use. Despite being a digital guy, I could never figure out how Snapchat works. Yeah, I have done campaigns, but you, I forget what I have spoken to the person day before. On WhatsApp, you can at least go and say, who is this pinging me? Now, should it stop me and let me criticize? The only way to work with whichever generation is that set up common basic principles of acceptable norms. If you are clear and which were spoken, you have to have a common objective, common acceptable norms. Okay, I mean, you can't be high and work. That won't work for me. Okay, high on spirit internally and high on spirit from here versus here is two different things. Yeah, so here is okay, here it is not. Now, if these are the challenges you are dealing with, then you have not been clear. And third is, does that person believes you? And here comes the question of trust. What he was mentioning a while back is about saying that can I can it be a transparency? A transparent culture comes from a culture of trust and vulnerability. You got to trust, and trust is not taken but given. Do you trust others to do right things? And if you trust them, don't try to control all the process. Control some tenets of it. Define your entire boundary, and whichever generation it is, you can have a 52 or have whatever 18. Both of them will deliver. I mean, if they are not, then there is something wrong in your hiring or curation process. The problem does not stay there. It's easy to point a finger on somebody. Ask yourself, if you have chosen him or her, do you have right set of interviewing skills to be able to select a person for doing the job? And otherwise, go and train yourself on selecting better people who aligns with you. I mean, you can't change others. You can only change yourself.
So I'm surrounded with a lot of Gen Zs, right? Because I'm in that kind of industry. I have people who are influencers, active influencers on Insta and they come to office and they operate. I think it's not difficult to, work with them. There's just one thing that you have to look after. There is a very, seamless balance that you create between knowledge and experience. If you respect them for their knowledge, because that's their power. They're so informed, so informed, and they are knowledgeable about it, and they have a lot of confidence about that. So if you respect their knowledge, they will respect your experience. Because experience comes definitely with time. So there are very hard situations, which I just dealt with just yesterday. So that is something which you learn with time, when after seeing such incidents multiple times, which they have not. So if you just keep that balance, let them operate at the level of knowledge which they have, and let your experience come into play wherever. So I think that balance is the only thing that at least we operate with, and it works beautifully. I can't steal away their knowledge, they can't steal away my experience, right? My age was already told by experience, so they can't steal. Yeah, so we can't steal that away, right? So why do fight in that space? Just let's respect and allow both of us to operate. And you will see there has been instances where they have definitely come back to me to handle that situation, because they were not they were not apprised with that. They needed my leadership in that. So I don't have to push my leadership. They understand that this is a situation where much more maturity and that kind of communication and that kind of resistance or something is required, and they will fall back on you. And so does you. I rely on them for, why would I, put my head around creative stuff when I know that they are hooked up to social media, they are more creative, they are using ChatGPT, let them do it. So we're not stealing away from each other's space. I think that's the way.
It's about acceptance. I mean, you have to accept that that's how they are, instead of comparing with yourself. And I think the way what's helping me is that being a father now, my 4-5-year-old boy is teaching me enough patience to handle a 20-year-old people I work with. So yeah, being a father is helping me there to accept and understand their way of things.
I won't.
Half of the conversation we'll have to have outside, sir. Anything else you would want to add?
So I have nothing more to add. You are right. They are a little impatient because they have different aspirations levels. We, like he said, way back when we started our career, we didn't have so much avenues to acquire knowledge. Knowledge was not at our fingertips. We had to work hard, to learn something. They can now, in parallel, learn 4-5 different things and have these all AI and everything at their disposal. They can do work much faster, but like she said, we have experience on our side. So, it's something we have, something they have, and with a combination, we can make a great team. We just have to be a little patient. We can't school them like, our senior used to do to us at the start of our career. We can't do the same with them.
I think one thing that I'll give to the Gen Z generation, that they're extremely transparent. They're not someone who would, they're not cunning. They come across extremely transparent. When we used to take a leave from a day off, we would text our boss that maybe my mom is ill or I'm having a headache or whatever. They will say, I have to go out with my girlfriend. So what upset us is that how can you say that, can that be a reason? Because in our days, that cannot be a reason. It has to be something emergency. So I think the good part is that at least they're transparent. And if you can accept their transparency and appreciate that, I think you'll find a truth there.
Yeah, resources also comes in. Now you had a grandmom and granddad and everything. It doesn't, how does it? I think we are dealing, see, you need to understand, if you want to understand people's behavior, you need to understand the society you are living into. Our forefathers were fighting against the snakes and the leopards on the way to work. We were trying to figure out how to cycle around to work. And this person today is flying around to work. He's Ubering to work. He or she is no more trying to figure out from where he or she will get 2 square meals. That's been taken care of. The housing is no more a problem. He is not going to go down with malaria every 3 weeks. The medical is not a problem. And then this person is dealing, for him the social security is granted. He or she is not looking for that. The Maslow's need hierarchy and your positioning on that has shifted. The overall environment you are living has shifted from there. 3 generations before me, the only thing was you can be either a government servant or probably be a doctor or something. In my generation, you can do a lot more. You can go to a couple of other things. This guy does not need to. He or she can sit at home, dance in front of a camera and yet make money and do a respectable living.
I just want to add here, yesterday we had one guy joining us, and he has done his graduation in filmmaking. We never had this profession when we were studying.
So I think before the organizers come and they tell me that, it's just the time. Two, three key takeaways that I took from such a great discussion that we did. One is that innovation in an organization is not the onus of just one department. Rather, it's an ongoing process and should be the DNA of the company, right? And as Sir said that time and again that he said that you should have common objectives, goals and visions. And also, it's better to respect the space and give that space to your employees for them to be more open, more transparent and have the company grow, because it's the people that makes the company grow or, make it fall. So thank you guys. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for such a great session and so many good points. I think you're very hungry, right?
I think we are standing between lunch and everybody.